I'm Mel, and we're going to talk about this little fitting right here. It decides whether your boat stays floating or if you start slowly taking on water. We're installing a boat plug fitting today, and Coop is going to show you his little tricks for how to make sure it's watertight and secure.
All right, so before we even start talking about changing this boat plug, let's talk about why this thing is so important. When you come back from a trip or from a run, you want to be able to pull this thing out to let the water out, because if the water sits in there, it's going to create mold, rot, stinky smells. So having a functional boat plug is very important, so that at the end of your trip, you can pull it out and you can discover if you have a, that was way too much water kind of problem. So here's the project. This is the transom of the boat. You can see here, this is where the boat plug used to be. When we got the boat, the brass boat plug was in here. It was seized up, probably because it wasn't taken out for a while because the boat was kept in the water. So no big deal. I thought, hey, we'll just crank on it. We tried penetrating oil, tried applying some heat, nothing. So the whole, and then I tried drilling it out, and you can see by the inside, even after drilling it out, all that brass is still bonded to each other. So instead, we had to remove the whole fixture. This used to be plugged up in there and then screwed in place. So the whole fixture comes out. You can see right up there into the hull. It was good because a bunch of old water, sediment, a bunch of junk came out of here. So I filled these old holes with some polyester resin, so they're fresh and new. The problem is we got a whole new boat plug style to go in. This one's pretty cool. They call this, it's garboard style. I don't know how to say that. First time switching out a boat plug, but this one's neat. It goes right in here. The boat plug only comes out if you want it to. This thing will unthread the first set of threads, and then it'll allow your boat plug to drain. You can still take it all the way out if you want by just threading it further, and boom. So the project now is we can't just put this right in, because the old boat plug has a 1 1/8 inch cutout here, whereas the new boat plug is 1 1/4 of an inch cutout. So we're going to make this hole bigger to receive the mounting plate for this new boat plug. We're going to do that using a hole saw, and then I'll reseal the inside of this with some polyester resin, let that cure. Then we can install this new garboard stern boat plug with some 5200 and screws. What's kind of interesting about this is that when I'm going to drill this hole a little bit bigger, I only want to drill, up here and over here. I don't want to drill down. I wouldn't want to just draw a new circle all the way around, because then it'd be eating into the deck that's underneath in there. Here we are looking deep into the sole of the boat. Kind of gross, but you can see. Don't want to drill out the floor anymore. Always a good time to drill holes in your boat. A little nerve-wracking, but it's part of the process. Next up is just making sure that our new garboard plug fits in there. Looks pretty good. I'm going to need to grind the edge of the transducer just a little bit so that it sits flush in there. And that'll be that. Perfect. Nice. Perfect. Okay, so now the goal is to just make up some polyester resin. Let's see, this shows we're using marine laminating resin, the right stuff. This is good for bonding wood, fiberglass together, intentionally made. I'm just going to make a very small amount. I'm going to make a ½ ounce with this little cup. We're going to activate it with our methyl ethyl ketone peroxide. It's the magic stuff. Depending on how many drops you put in, the faster it's going to cook off. Or I forget all the different ways people say that it's going to kick. That's another one. So the number of drops we use, this is a very old chart here. You know, this kind of tells me for if I'm mixing 1 ounce of polyester resin, if I want to mix that 1.5%, I'm going to use 13 drops. So maybe use more, maybe use less. If you wanted to cure slowly, you could use 9. I'm only going to make a ½ ounce, so I'm only going to use, I'll use 7 drops, maybe 10, because I want it to light off pretty good so that it'll harden overnight, and then I can seal it tomorrow with 5200. We'll get to that step. So, got measurements on the side of my little cup. It's going to show me where the ½ ounce mark is. Hopefully we're going to nail this. You'll notice this stuff starts off blue and then will eventually change colors. Okay, and then like it said, we could go less, we could go more than 7. I'm going to go 10 because I want it to kick pretty quick. I'm going to mix this hot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This stuff is wild if you read about it, what you can do. It's pretty explosive little oxidizer. All these symbols right here tell you danger, danger. But also incredible. So I'm just going to mix it up. These are coffee stir sticks. They are cheaper to buy than to buy proper stir sticks. You'll see this thing is changing color already. It's gone to this lighter color green. Before we're done, this thing will turn pink. I'm going to mix this up like crazy. I want that MEK to be fully spread through this little bit of resin. And I'm going to grab a little brush, little 1-inch brush. I always pull these to get any loose bristles out. We do not want these bristles getting stuck in the resin. Oh, you see one just came out there. Really make sure it's emptied out. Right. Got our tools, heading out to the boat. So I'll grab some tape. We'll put around the hole to make sure the drips are covered down on. Make sure that they don't get stuck on the hull, making more stuff to sand. Here we go. So now I'm going to tape around the hole because I'm going to put this resin in the hole, but it's going to end up going, it's going to want to drain back out. So I'm basically going to make, well, first I'm going to just tape off the whole edge. And I have to do this quickly because everyone knows that when you're working with resin, once you put the MEK in there, the clock starts ticking before that stuff starts to kick and harden. And then it's game over. Then you have to start from scratch if you don't get it on in time. And you can't try to, once it starts kicking, you can't use it while it's all gummy and tacky because then it's not going to properly adhere. So there we go. So now I've got around the hole, and now the skirt, if you will, I'm just gonna, the hole is pretty protected, but this might be excessive. I take this and then I'll just sort of flare it out, right? So I'm gonna give my resin another quick stir. I don't want too much in my brush. So I think there's some conflicting ideas about whether you need to do this or not. People saying, oh, you could just do the 5200, a solid silicone sealant that's designed for use under the water line, saying you could do that. You don't need to do this. But my understanding is that, I've got layers of hull material here that are exposed that have never been exposed before, since it was built. And do I want to take a chance that water gets between those, that something may be cracked while I was drilling it or chipped in a way? No, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want water in my hole. So I'm going to put ample amounts of resin in here. I know that I have a little bit of wiggle room because when I tested my fitting in here, it had plenty of space. So that's it. Look at all the dirt and stuff that came out. It's not good, but just flatten my little skirt. All right, so that's that. We'll let that harden. Then tomorrow we'll come back, sand it, and install the plug. I don't know if everybody else who mixes resin comes back to do the same thing, but sure, I'm going to check the job. But I'm also going to go look at my little cup of resin because I want to see this brush. I want to see everything harden like this. There's that pink color I told you it was going to turn. Yeah, I want to see it harden here, and then I'm going to know that it is hardened in the job as well. All right, here we are the next day. I came back to dry fit our plug to make sure it's going to slide right in there. There's a little bit of resistance, I can tell. So I think what has happened is that the resin is a little bit thick at the bottom where it dripped down, which is okay. We'll just grind that out real quick, and then we should be able to install our new plug. Step one of the install is we're going to mark where our screw holes are going to be drilled. I'm going to offset this from where the old screw holes were, so we're going into truly fresh hull. So I'm going to make circles where the hardware is going to go. That'll tell me where to pre-drill. So I'm pre-drilling with this little guy here. You can see we want to pre-drill because that will make sure that we don't splinter the hole by accidentally. by just jamming a screw straight in there. There we go. I'm also only going to drill as deep as this screw goes, so I can see on my drill bit how far that is, so I'll stop just before that. I'm going to put 5200 around. I'm going to put some on each hole to make sure that hole is sealed. And then we're also going to pay attention to the way the back of this thing is shaped. So I'm going to take some, and again, yeah. I'm going to take this a little bit of 5200 on my finger. I'm going to make sure the inside of this thing has a thin coat, because I want it to bond really well. Not often you change out a boat plug in a hole's history, so you know, we can put a little heavy, assuming that this boat plug should not need to be changed again anytime soon. You certainly don't want this to leak. So I've also already applied the 5200 to the back of the plug. Some extra in the areas where this has been sort of made a spot for it, and then all around the ring itself. So now I just need to line up these holes. And don't worry, we're going to wipe all that excess off. Should squeeze out. Yes, this is good. $5,200 gets everywhere. It's the stickiest stuff known to man. Put my screws in. I should feel those pre-drilled holes. This whole thing spun over there. There it is. I'm not gonna put that all the way in. Tighten them all universally at the end. Notice that I'm screwing these in very slowly because stainless steel hardware is soft. It's really easy to ruin it. So I'm pressing really hard. So that fitting is in. Now we just got to get all this filthy 5200 off of everywhere. It's excessive right now. This is where people think I'm nuts, using something as small as a Q-tip to remove this excess 5200, but I think it results in a much better looking job to take all this excess off. Alright, here it is, fully installed. You can see the 5200 on the inside, all nice and sealed. 5200 around all of those screw heads, all around the outside. So should be good to go. And this little guy will just thread in when we need it to. That's it. I'm not going to thread it all the way in because I don't want to get 5200 on the end in the threads, but that's it. So keep tabs on the channel for future water testing. When we put the boat back in the water, we'll make sure this sucker does not leak.